Terry, I completely changed everything. I changed all of how I do this.
I can tell.
And I have a white wall behind me now.
Very institutional.
I feel institutionalized.
That's
But
not.
only from the way the camera is pointing. I went with nothingness would be the right answer. And I was like, can I find okay lighting for my face? And just let my facial emotions fill in the rest of the illustration. So kind of the opposite of my usual studio scenario where I just let the background do the talking.
That's not the case, but yeah. Do you feel does the lack of amenities make you uncomfortable?
Well, the lack of amenities are only behind me. All the amenities are in front of me, but nobody can see it because of movie magic.
Yeah.
Like right out there, just amenities as far as the eye can see. A
So
beautiful sunrise, sunshine and lollipops. There's a song we didn't name, Sunshine and Lollipops.
okay, I don't know that one.
Yeah. I want to talk about astronomy.
Oh, I like this.
Because the sun was just the start.
Yeah.
What happened to astronomy? Like this is a case where you know how you feel like I don't know, society is in decline. Do you know how you feel that?
Do I feel
And,
that?
yeah, and I'm like, no, Terry, society's fine. It's pretty much okay. And we have that conversation.
I don't feel like society's in decline any
Okay.
more or any less than society's always been in decline.
Okay, that's important.
I think we're in a trough of, and I think it's based on transparency. I think we're becoming more transparent. I think culture is becoming more transparent. And I think as that happens, folks tend to think that that's not astronomy. I've like just right out of the
please.
gate.
I need to know. I need to know. Folks think what?
I think people think the sky is falling anytime there are periods of change. And it's all cyclical. There are troughs and peaks and troughs and peaks. And I think we're in a trough of, via transparency, we're in a trough of change. And I think it's a trough of change in the respect that for modern generations, you believed what the box in your living room told you to believe, and you trusted this person, had your best interest at heart, blah, blah, blah. Well, we've come to find out that may not be the case, and that probably the dollared interests behind the box are the ones driving the bus. And so I think the transparency of what we've been able to do because of technology is we're in a trough of fear and panic and that sort of thing.
Well, I don't feel that society is in precipitous decline necessarily.
I don't either.
But I do feel like the industry of armchair astronomy, where you look up and you can name the constellations and the celestial bodies, I feel that is in decline.
For sure.
I mean, I don't have it. Well, the problem is I have no evidence. So you say for sure, and I'm like, how do we know?
I feel like the curiosity behind the need to look up and the discipline to map that stuff out, if indeed that's the way it went, and there weren't like super intelligent aliens here before that helped them do that. But the ability to map things out with the precision that things have been mapped out with presumably rudimentary technology, all that's mind blowing to me. Anyway, I don't think we have that in the same level.
I mean, isn't it just because we have other stuff to do?
For sure. Plus, we're also, a little better in the, if you've got a headache, it's the demons and we're going to drill a hole in your head. Like we've kind of improved in a lot of ways as well.
Wait, is that a real thing?
Yeah.
Or are you just making that up as an example, or is that an actual thing that used to happen in medicine?
It's no, it's an actual thing that used to happen in medieval times when no one had an understanding. They were in a trough of anti-enlightenment or whatever you want to call it, and if you had an illness of some sort that they thought was the demon, then like Salem witch trials, it's not that far back in the past.
No, we're talking about generations back that you could count with easily two hands.
People, yeah, people. We're talking people back.
When were the Salem witch trials?
16s, maybe 16s or 17s. Hopefully,
This end of the 16s.
yeah.
So end of the 16s means we have 340-ish years. So 1692 is the date of the trial. So
like
you
4
know,
people ago.
4 old people,
Yeah.
five medium people, 6 people who died kind of young. That's not that many though. No, well, think about this. I had a similar. This was a long time ago now. This was a quarter of a generation ago that I had this realization. Somebody pointed it out. It was like the civil rights era, meaning the Civil Rights Act era, was a generation and a half ago. It was like we were in a room. This was probably in college, and it was our parents were really really little when the Civil Rights Act passed, but their parents were young-ish to middle-aged adults when the laws to to codify equal rights based on race were created. And this was particularly pointed because this was all like children of the 90s who were sort of brought up on like that's not an issue anymore, like everything's cool. It was all kind of, I mean, like we had the LA riots and stuff, but generally the way I was taught about race relations in America was as history. And then it was like this specific moment somebody said, "Oh, that was just a generation and a half ago," and used the Civil Rights Act of 1964 as the example. But I mean, there could have been other moments or other examples, but that particular one stood out to me to think more in terms of what's the recent history, what's the history that we're still tied really tightly to, what's the history that I think is ancient history. There's another one like this. It's a contemplating time thing. Your kids are too old for dinosaur books, I assume, at this point,
Yeah.
for the most part. So my kids are just really leaning into dinosaur books. And I might mess this up, but the Tyrannosaurus Rex lived closer to humans than it did to Triceratops in timeline wise.
I can
Because
always
the
count on you to bring the zoological
because
facts.
because dinosaurs walked the earth for a really 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 long time, and people have not been on earth for all that long.
Can you
So being
imagine? Go
no,
ahead.
whatever you're gonna say, if it's about dinosaurs or time, no, I can't imagine it.
Can you
My brain
imagine
can't comprehend it.
being the first of the human lot to coexist with dinosaurs? What was that day like?
The humans, well, depending on whether you believe that the Earth is 6,000 years old and people rode dinosaurs, or
Come
whether
on.
you believe science, there were no humanoids on Earth at the same time as dinosaurs. Here's another thing that when you were a kid, what did you learn about the extinction of the dinosaurs?
As a meteor.
Was that how definitive was that?
I mean, it's still not that definitive, but
It's super definitive now.
yeah, it's the crater in Mexico. I forget
Yeah,
what
like
it's
it's
called.
it's super definitive. It was that crater. There was a mass extinction event. It came from the impact, then the cloud, then the climate change related to after the cloud. And there's very little other debate that it might have been this thing or that thing or the other thing. When I was a kid, there were like 6 possible good reasons the dinosaurs died, and now it's that.
Yeah.
And when my kids are kids, who knows? It could be a completely different thing. And we've undecided that dinosaurs were killed off by that meteorite.
Don't you feel like that's kind of what life is it's a Scooby-Doo episode. Everything's a Scooby-Doo episode where the villain is this person, but then the mask comes off and it's something like everything is just that's why there's anyone who speaks definitively about anything that you can't see in front of you at that time, you're really brave. Because, I mean, we've talked about Newtonian physics. There so much changes, so many things that are viewed as like law and, this is the way it happened definitively. I think today should just be called the tangent episode because
This
that's
is
the way
it's
it's
not a
headed.
tangent at all, because we're talking about, can you trust in the stars? The stars are a constant. The worship of, and when I say worship, not necessarily meaning religious worship, but the um, the reverence with which the night sky is treated comes from things like the constancy. You look up, the North Star is there. Only the North Star is not moving. That's a big deal. And everybody can see it. Everybody can see it. Everybody they know can see it. You all got the same sky to look up to. And you got that one thing. You're like, oh, there's the thing. It's not difficult at all to imagine, how do we go from, there's the North Star and it doesn't move and all the other stars move, and there's, the God entity in the sky is keeping the stars in place or whatever. That's not hard for me to imagine in the slightest, because we're looking for things that we can, hang our hat to, and trust in and believe in and make definitive. We want it to be definitive.
So
So the
yes,
North Star is helpful for that.
yeah. Yesterday we talked about, or in our last segment yesterday, I guess last night, we talked about sunshine, and we
Yeah,
discussed the taking of for granted of the sunshine.
yeah.
I am guilty of taking for granted the stars.
I don't look up at the stars. This is why I wanted to bring it up. I'm like, they're right there. They've
Yeah.
been there the whole time. Our ancestors, their ancestors' ancestors. Like, this should be a source of comfort, the same as it has been for a long time. Will I read about spacecraft trying to land on the moon? Oh, I'll read about that. Will I read about spacecraft trying to go to Mars? Will I read about trying to colonize Mars? Absolutely. I'll stare into a little box and read these words that somebody wrote about this. But will I stay up, past sunset, go outside and look up into space and be like, oh, there's a star right there? No.
So in my mind now, thinking, and just this is all, so many of our discussions are seen through this lens. But I think, okay, the heyday, the golden era of stargazing was Greek. It was a long, long time ago. Probably that's not the case.
I mean, mythologically, I feel like my gut is to agree with you, but I have no way of knowing if that's actually right.
I mean, I doubt we've got, there's some really big, I mean, it's institutional now. I feel like the stargazing is now institutional. It's not this idealistic, romantic curiosity thing. It's NASA has a telescope that can beam through, 6 galaxies and solar systems. I feel like it's a educationally mostly, but an institutional endeavor.
Do you feel like the stars still inspire wonder among normal
No,
normal people?
no, and that's disappointing. But I think new things inspire wonder. But I think I again, I credit this to you. This is probably one of my more recent evolutions in that things are now as they always have been. It's just the what is different. And I think our wonder and our bewilderment, which leads to wonder, is just different now. It's on different things. And that the nostalgic part of me, the nostalgic side of me, makes me sad a little bit that the stars aren't getting their due, but we've moved on to other things.
Give me a couple of examples. I don't think there's any way I could ever guess what examples you have in mind for what else is taking the attention away from staring at the stars.
Instagram, porn.
Do you think Instagram instills the same kind of wonder that staring up into the heavens has inspired?
I think that's a great distinction. No, I think the attention, it's the from an attention perspective, it's the fill in, but it's not the same thing. I think it's an attention. That's like an epiphany.
Wait, aren't you not on Instagram?
Um,
You're not
I
an
have
Instagram user.
I have an account. I will watch reels on occasion. There are like three comedians that I follow that do voiceovers, and I get my fill of that. I
Do you know
haven't
what,
been able to do it in a while, but
do you know what gives me astronomical wonder when I'm watching Instagram things, pictures, reels, whatever? The stuff that comes up on Instagram. What gives me star-like wonder is seeing some guy tackling crocodiles in a territory in Australia that I hadn't heard of before. And then just, going through what's this guy up to? Oh, he's tackling a crocodile. Oh, he's catching a frilled dragon. Not to make it always zoological, but I mean, this guy's going through the bush. And I'm like, I didn't know there was this bush. I didn't know that these animals existed. This guy, I mean, yeah, sure, he's just documenting through the phone like anybody else, but he's on the literal other side of a planet, and I'm just more or less getting a steady dose of what that guy's up to. And the thought that that's even possible at all now, and that this is basically the only time in any history that has been possible. That gives me astrological and astronomical levels of wonder. I mean, and then the other thing is, I'm like, oh, so he's just jumping on this alligator thing. Cool, okay. And then the fact that I can be nonplussed by it, and that I'm still watching this guy's life from around the planet. That combination together, that's what fills me with the biggest wonder. I'm like, how can I
yeah.
care? How can I care so much and so little all at the same time?
But I just, for me, the letdown in that, why that could not be my astronomical wonder, is people have probably been jumping on alligator and crocodile backs for a long time,
Yeah,
a long time.
but I know for sure because I just saw it.
I
I
know,
just I just saw it.
but you've just seen a lot of things with that same mechanism.
Yeah, there's no end to it. I could see all of the things. Once you've seen a whole bunch of things that surprised you, what's the next thing?
And that is the challenge that the youth, the kids face today. They've seen it all. It's all in their pocket. Everything. Everything that ever has been done that you could come across that's new, they've seen it all.
And what's the dumbest in real life moment you've heard from a kid? I'm making these up. These aren't real examples. I don't have one, but these would be things such as, Terry, did you know that you can just go to the library and you can get any book you want? That type of stuff that you thought would have been obvious that causes you to have the most generational yeah duh that you could ever think. Do you have any examples of this?
Not in a good way, but yeah, I was asked. That was a very positive and wholesome example that you gave. I was asked very recently, um, "Hey, I if I made money from this job, do I have to claim that in my taxes?"
Yeah,
Um, I said, "You do." And you want to claim all of the monies from all of the
just
jobs
all the
in your
money. Like
tax.
there's no
Yeah.
money that doesn't go into
Yeah.
that money.
If money came from somewhere else and went into your account other than gift from somebody, yes, you claim it all.
Gift has a limited amount too per person.
Yeah. Well, and by gift, I mean,
The youths, man, the youths are ready to commit tax fraud by accident.
tax fraud by accident.
Yeah.
It's a
Oh, I'm
formal,
sorry. I'm
it's a
sorry,
formal
the
defense.
IRS. I didn't know.
Yeah. I was led astray. Yeah. I don't,
Have you stargazed and seen um, active celestial bodies before? Meaning not just stars in the sky, but stuff happening
yeah.
in the sky.
And I took the kids, we go one beach vacation a year. We'll do other things as time and schedules permit, but we do one dedicated beach vacation a year. Last year we went to Tybee Island.
Hmm.
Highly recommend, by the way.
Noted.
Anyway, um, we were on our balcony and saw a comet, presumably some celestial body, burn out across the sky. It was super cool and a little eerie, if I'm being honest.
Was this a scenario where you were intentionally gazing at the night sky and this happened, or was this more of an incidental
Incidental.
celestial happening?
Yeah, we
Yeah.
were, and not all of us saw it. I saw it. My daughter saw it. I think my son and his girlfriend didn't see it, but we just were out there. We were just out there, and there it was.
So I've seen a few things burning up in the sky before, and it kind of blew my mind the first couple of times. And one of them, big giant green fireball streaking through the sky, like what seemed kind of slow, to the point where it was, try and find the newspaper the next morning. I was little. I was probably 7 or 8 years old. It was like find in the newspaper what that thing was in the sky. And, now it would be look on Twitter, oh, it was a SpaceX launch or whatever. But I also distinctly recall driving out into the countryside, which was far from where I lived, laying on a roof and just staring up on a random day that was not a meteor shower day. Like maybe 2, 3 hours. It was summertime, so it was pretty comfortable, but a non-trivial amount of time, but also not a full night's worth of staring up into space. A bunch of stuff happened, and it kind of blew my mind. I'm like, how is there this much stuff going on up there that isn't airplanes, satellites, man-made objects? Like I thought it was just the stars hanging out. How did we see all this stuff when it's not a meteor shower? Because I had several family members who were, I guess, meteor shower enthusiasts. So we would go out on a day when you're expecting to see this kind of stuff, and then you do. But this was just a normal vanilla day, and still a bunch of stuff burning up. So I got curious about it and I started looking it up. And it's just stuff burning up in the atmosphere. There's just always junk falling out of the sky. And the atmosphere creates friction because there's air. And stuff catches on fire and then you can see it from the ground. And I was like, this is such an uninteresting explanation of a thing that is cool in the world.
Have you seen the video from Russia, I believe, from a few years back, like 3 or 4 years back, where a comet or a meteor, whatever celestial body, not a comet, a meteor, maybe that's the same thing. I don't know. Clearly, I'm not in wonderment or amazement or whatever of celestial
A
bodies.
comet orbits.
Okay, so a meteor then crashed. They filmed it crashing into the ground. And it was tiny, luckily. But yeah, there are all kinds of rocks flying around out there.
Yeah. Rocks, pieces of metal, chunks of plastic, satellite bits. It's wild.
Do you ever get a feeling of anxiety about the fact that our planet is moving in a revolution at a very high speed while spinning in a revolution at a very high speed, and all this stuff is out, like infinity is out there beyond it. Like we tend to think in my four walls, and this is such not a my four walls experience. This is not a my four walls experience. Like this is so much of, we are ants, we are specks, we are trivial.
No, I don't get specific anxiety about that. I get anxious about things like I'm going to get in the car and drive again, and I know that there is a non-zero risk that I'm going to get in a bad car accident.
Yeah.
That type of stuff bothers me more.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Dude, if another planet slams into Earth and that's the end for me, all I can say is that I hope it lands on me directly, because that would be awesome. You only get one shot to leave this Earth, right? Like you only get one chance to go out. And if I'm going to go out and it's from a planet smashing into me, that would be an amazing way to go.
Yeah. I don't know.
I won't be around to enjoy it, but I want you and everybody else who survives me, if that's how I go.
You know what we're going to get, though? We're going to get the crap version of that. We're going to get like a solar burst that fries over the global electric grid, and then with no power, all the doomsday scenarios that can unfold will unfold, and it's Night of the Living Dead. We'll get some crap version of it. No planets colliding, no huge extinction event from a meteor. We'll get like a solar burst that fries the electric grid and everybody starves to death.
Slowly.
Slowly, yeah,
slowly
while
and
killing each other. I shouldn't laugh about that. Very real. That talk about a not only is that a non-zero probability, that's 100% probability that that's going to happen. It's just when.
You're talking about the sun expanding and engulfing the Earth.
No, that's a
That's even
billion years.
further.
Yeah, that's
You
a
mean
billion years down the
one
road.
big solar flare
Yeah,
that
like
messes us up?
just an off gas of the sun fries the electric grid. Apparently, there's a thing too where the poles can switch polarity, and that would mess everything up too. I don't know. So,
So you're more concerned about dying slowly and in an agonizing societal collapse manner, not so much about, you know, more of an impact death.
I don't think about the impact death because I don't think we'll know. I think it's just you're whistling Dixie down the street and then you're not.
Heart
I
attack in your sleep, comet orbit interacts with Earth and smacks into us, we're all dead. You're like,
Yeah,
these are equivalent to you.
yeah. But the thing where the thing goes out and it turns into Mad Max for a period of time until everybody dies off. I don't want to be defending my four walls from the bands of marauders that would come in from the hills and other parts of the city. That's the part I don't want to go that way. I don't want like Walking Dead or Mad Max where it's you got to have a bunch of guns and a bunch of ammo or you're done.
Could you name all the movies in the Mad Max series?
No. And I'm lucky that I know that one. I haven't seen it.
You haven't seen the Mad Max movie?
No.
Well, I'm gonna start a bit where I invent fake plots to movies that are popular, and I'm gonna tell you what happened in them in a way that's very memorable to you, and then other people will bring up that cultural movie, and you'll be like,
Oh yeah, this is
"What?
what
Yeah, the that you mean the Bugs Bunny movie with the zombies? Yeah, yeah, I know about this movie." And I'm gonna forever taint your brain with fake Mad Max plot lines.
Yeah. Well, at least I know enough about what that's about to not receive your fake plot and take it as literal.
Are there zombies in the Mad Max movies?
I don't think so.
You seem pretty confident in that.
Yeah. My my deductive reasoning says no.
Do you know what's going to be a better use of your time? So Mad Max is from 1979, and it's pretty quick. It's short. It's only like 90 minutes long. So I think it's important that instead of watching Mad Max, that you spend 90 minutes staring into the sky. So the next time you were gonna watch a movie, think about staring into the sky instead.
I like it.
And tell me how it went.
I like it. I will do that actually. I live on the northeast side of Louisville, and it's out of sort of the dome that an urban area
Mm-hmm.
creates.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got clear shot into the sky. And this time of year, winter, I don't know if it still is now, but like especially December, I think it's the North Star. But out my kitchen window or one of my kitchen windows early in the morning when I'm up, it's like right there saying hello on non-cloudy nights. So I will absolutely not watch Mad Max, and I needed no incentive not to watch Mad Max, but I I will use the potential wonderment of gazing at celestial bodies as the incentive for not watching Mad Max.
Thanks, Terry. That means a lot to me.
Yeah.
See you next time.
Until next time.